sad in retrospect, hindsight's 2020. I'm sad that I wasn't more hard on Ace and Peter, the two original guys who played guitar and drums in the band.
The day the music fell silent. On October 16th, 2025, the world of rock lost one of its brightest stars. Ace Frehley, co-founder of Kiss and the man known to millions as the Spaceman, passed away at the age of 74. The news broke quietly that afternoon. Morristown Hospital confirmed the cause: complications from a brain hemorrhage following a studio fall just weeks earlier. At the time of his fall, Ace had been in the middle of recording a new album. Even in his 70s, he was restless, driven, chasing the sound that had followed him all his life. Within hours of the announcement, radio stations across America switched their playlists. DJs threw out their pre-planned shows and began replaying Shock Me, New York Groove, and Rock Soldiers. Fans called in sobbing, telling stories of their first Kiss concert, their first guitar, their first spark of rebellion. Social media exploded. #Goodbye Spaceman trended worldwide. Across cities, murals began to appear overnight. Ace with his silver guitar, lightning behind him, eyes full of cosmic fire. The farewell. A few days later, in a quiet chapel in New Jersey, the Frehley family held a private funeral. It wasn't the spectacle one might expect for a rock icon. No flashing lights, no press, no stage. Just candles, photographs, and the quiet hum of grief. Inside, former bandmates and old friends sat together. Some hadn't spoken in years, but grief softens time. When Gene Simmons rose to speak, the room fell utterly silent. For all the conflicts, the tours, and the decades of distance, there was respect. Gene said, "Ace was the first person who could make a guitar laugh and cry. No one can replace that energy." His voice wavered. It was the sound of a man who had lost more than a bandmate. He had lost a part of his own story. Paul Stanley followed with a simple line that carried the weight of half a century. "We were different, but music kept us in the same world." After the ceremony, Gene walked out into the gray afternoon and posted just 3 words on social media: "Goodbye, Spaceman." Those words traveled faster than any song. They appeared in headlines, tattoos, t-shirts, and on stages across the globe. The birth of the Spaceman. Long before the fame, Ace Frehley was Paul Daniel Frehley, a shy boy from the Bronx, born into a working-class family. His parents didn't have much, but they had music. His mother sang in church. His father played a little jazz guitar. Ace picked up his first guitar at 13, a beat-up instrument borrowed from a relative. He spent endless hours in his small room, copying every lick from the Rolling Stones, The Who, and Jimi Hendrix. He played until his fingers bled, until the strings snapped, until the sound became part of him. In the early 1970s, fate brought him to a Manhattan audition. There, he met Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, 2 ambitious musicians with the same vision: to create something bigger, louder, and more theatrical than anything the rock world had seen. The chemistry was instant. That was the birth of Kiss. 4 young dreamers in makeup, boots, and fire. Ace designed his own persona, the Spaceman. To him, it symbolized freedom, imagination, and escape. His silver costume, glowing guitar, and explosive stage energy became his identity. The first time he walked on stage in full costume, the crowd went wild and rock music changed forever. Fire and fame. As Kiss rose through the 1970s, they became a global phenomenon. Stadiums filled, albums sold in the millions. Kids painted their faces to match the band. Their shows were more than concerts. They were rituals of light, fire, and sound. In the middle of it all stood Ace Frehley, unpredictable, magnetic, and irreplaceable. His solos weren't technical exercises. They were bursts of emotion. He didn't just play the guitar, he lived it. Shock Me became his anthem, inspired by a real electric shock he suffered on stage. Instead of fear, he turned the pain into music. "I wanted to play it like it was the last time I'd ever pick up a guitar," he said later. Engineers who worked with him remembered his wild experiments in the studio, reversing frequencies, bending sound, pushing amplifiers beyond safety. Ace didn't play by the rules, one producer recalled. He played by instinct. The results were unforgettable. Kiss albums like Alive and Destroyer became cultural landmarks. Behind the fire and masks, Ace's guitar gave the band its heartbeat. One music magazine famously wrote, "If Kiss were a planet, Frehley would be the energy that keeps it spinning." Cracks behind the mask. But fame comes with a cost. The late 1970s were relentless. Endless touring, interviews, merchandise deals, photo shoots. The music sometimes got lost in the noise. Ace began to feel trapped inside the machine. Gene and Paul saw Kiss as a brand. Ace saw it as a band. He wanted creativity, freedom, and space to experiment. The tension grew quietly but steadily. On several albums, his guitar parts were altered or replaced without his consent. It frustrated him deeply, though he rarely spoke publicly about it. "I just wanted every song to have a soul," he said in one rare interview. During Dynasty and Unmasked, Kiss began shifting toward a lighter, more commercial sound. Ace didn't fit neatly into that direction, yet his tracks, Hard Times and Talk to Me, carried that unmistakable Frehley spirit. By 1982, after finishing The Elder, he quietly left Kiss. No farewell tour, no grand announcement, just a short press release. For fans, it was like losing a spark that could never be rekindled. A lone star in orbit. Away from Kiss, Ace finally had room to breathe. He formed Frehley's Comet, a band that reflected his true style, raw, emotional, unapologetic rock. Their debut album sold well and earned critical praise. The single Rock Soldiers became a symbol of defiance, an anthem for anyone who refused to follow the crowd. While Kiss continued with new members, Ace charted his own course. He toured smaller venues, played for loyal fans, and created music that spoke directly from the heart. Even when others wore the spaceman makeup, fans knew there was only one real Ace Frehley. He wasn't chasing fame anymore. He was chasing truth in sound, reunion, and reflection. In the mid-1990s, the impossible happened. The original Kiss lineup reunited. Ace, Gene, Paul, and Peter shared the stage once again after more than a decade apart. The reunion tour was a massive success, one of the highest grossing of all time. For a brief moment, it felt like the 1970s again, the laughter, the noise, the fireworks, and that same wild energy. But harmony never lasted long in Kiss. Old disagreements resurfaced. Creative clashes, financial disputes, exhaustion. Ace left again in the early 2000s, this time with peace in his heart. He said, "I gave my best and that's enough." He focused on solo work and occasional collaborations, avoiding the chaos of massive tours. Years later, Gene Simmons admitted publicly, "Without Ace, Kiss would never have had an identity. He gave us the spark that made everything possible." Those words echoed once more at Ace's funeral years later, proof that even after separation, respect endured. Beyond the lights, in his final years, Ace was still full of ideas. He was recording new music, revisiting old riffs, writing lyrics that reflected a lifetime of highs and heartbreaks. His final project, Beyond the Lights, was nearly 80% complete when he passed. His manager called it his most heartfelt work in decades. The title felt prophetic, as if Ace knew he was heading toward the stars one last time. The final file found on his studio computer was a short, unfinished track, a slow, echoing guitar piece ending in silence. Fans later called it the sound of goodbye. When news of his death broke, radio stations replayed an old interview. Ace's words, once casual, now carried new weight. "I've lived my whole life in electronic sounds and black smoke, but every time I stand on stage, I still feel like I'm just beginning." Those words became his legacy, the legacy of the spaceman. Ace Frehley's influence goes beyond music charts. He became a symbol of authenticity, proof that imperfection can be beautiful when it's honest. Recording engineers often said that even Ace's mistakes had feeling. "He could miss a note," one said, "but you'd still keep it because it had soul." Generations of guitarists cite him as an inspiration. Dave Grohl, Tom Morello, and countless others have said they learned not technique from him, but courage, the courage to sound real. In the years after his death, Gibson released a limited edition Les Paul named AF-01, engraved with the words "Fly High, Spaceman." It sold out in hours. Across cities, murals of Ace began to appear. Fans gathered every October to celebrate Spaceman Night, where musicians played his songs live and projected his old performances on screen. His family and friends launched the Frehley Foundation for Music Youth, providing instruments to underprivileged kids. Gene Simmons donated first, writing, "If Ace were alive, he'd want to see these kids holding guitars." The man behind the makeup. One of the last public images of Ace shows him sitting in a small studio, silver Les Paul across his lap, smiling softly. No makeup, no lights, just a man, content with his music. He said, "Every sound I make comes from emotion. When you play from the heart, people hear it." That was Ace Frehley, not just a guitarist, but a believer. A man who turned chaos into melody, fame into art, and pain into sound. The sound that never dies. Even now, when someone plays Shock Me or New York Groove, it feels like Ace is still there, beyond the lights, somewhere between the echoes and the stars. He wasn't perfect. He didn't need to be. He was raw, honest, and alive. Everything rock and roll was meant to be. Ace Frehley, the spaceman, may have left the stage, but the music he created still flies. In every solo, in every chord, in every dream of a kid picking up a guitar for the first time. Goodbye, spaceman. Your music will never fade.